Hi, welcome to MooMooMath. Today we're going to talk about completing the square. And I've got a little song I'm going to share with you to help you learn how to complete the square. So when do we use completing the square? We use it to solve a quadratic equation that may not factor. Okay, one of the ways to solve it is to use the quadratic formula, but this is just another way you can solve a quadratic by using completing the square. You're also going to use it later in math with conic sections to change them to different forms. So let's get started on learning how to complete the square. Okay, here's our quadratic, and it's a quadratic because it's a second degree equation. And then we have a linear term, which is the 8x, and then we have a constant here. So I'm going to write above it the standard form, ax squared plus bx plus c equals 0. That's standard form. So a is 1, b is -8, and c, our constant, is -4. Now, we're going to start learning the process of completing the square. And I've got a little song to help you remember it. So this is how the song goes. It goes, and it's just a little jingle more than a song, but you half it, you square it, and you add it to both sides. You half it, and you square it, and you add it to both sides. Now, I've taught this for a long time, and the students tend to keep that little jingle in their mind to help them remember how to complete the square. So what are you taking half of? You're taking half of the b, the middle term, the coefficient, and you're dividing it by 2. Then you're taking that term, once it's divided by 2, and you're squaring it, and then you're going to add it to both sides of the equation because it's an equation and you have to keep it equal. So let's run through that, okay? So what is our b term here? Well, we said our b term was -8. So let's go over here. We're going to half 8. So if b is -8, we're going to half it. So let's take half of it. That's -4. And then we're going to take -4 and we're going to square it. And that gives us 16. And we're going to add 16 to both sides of the equation. Okay, so now let's go in here and apply it. So we're going to have x squared minus 8x. Now this 4 does not help us complete the square. We actually need the number 16. So we're going to move the 4 to the other side of the equation as we begin this process. So we're going to set it up like this, with the squared term, the linear term, a little space, and then our 4 that we've kicked over the fence to the other side of the equation. Now, we're half it, we square it, and we add it to both sides. So now we're going to do the adding to both sides. We're going to add 16 to the left side and 16 to the right, and you have to do that to keep your equation equal. That's what an equation is, it's a balanced scale, and you got to keep both sides equal. So we're adding it to both sides. Now, what we have done by completing the square is we've created a perfect square trinomial on the left side. This will factor down to a perfect square. What multiplies to 16 but adds to -8? Well, that's -4 times -4. That multiplies to 16 but adds to -8. So this is going to factor to x minus 4 times x minus 4. But we don't want to write it like that. We want to write it as a perfect square. X minus 4 quantity squared. Okay, now on the right side, let's just bring down our 20 because we're just adding 4 and 16. Okay, so you've just learned the process of creating a perfect square trinomial over here. It's a trinomial and it factors to a perfect square. Now we're going to apply the square root method. So we're going to take the square root of both sides to finish to solve for x. So we've got a perfect square. To undo a perfect square, we're going to take the square root of both sides. So this square root and the square just cancel out, and we're left with x minus 4. Now on the right side, when we take the square root, we have to think about it having both a positive and negative solution. So you have to think about both positive and negative. So when you take the square root of both sides, you have to account for both possibilities. Now we just need to solve for x. So we're going to have to move the 4 to the right. So let's add 4. And then let's just simplify our answer. So we have x equals, and I always write my constant first, so positive 4 plus or minus the square root of 20. Now this answer is not simplified because I can break down the square root of 20 into 2 parts. 4 times 5, which breaks down to 2 times 2 times 5. So I have a perfect square I can take out. So let's simplify this to 4 plus or minus, and you're going to take a 2 out because that's the square root of 4, 2 square root 5. And that is our solution. But actually, that's two solutions. So let me break that up for you into two parts. It's going to be for plus 2 square root 5. And the other solution is for minus 2 square root 5. So if you need to evaluate those in the calculator, make sure you think about both solutions. So there you go. That's how you solve a quadratic using completing the square. So let me go over very quickly this little song again. Okay, it goes like this. You half it, you square it, and you add it to both sides. You half it, and you square it, and you add it to both sides. So after you've done that, you finish up by using the square root method. So we took the square root of both sides. Then you rewrite the left side as a perfect square trinomial, and that, or a perfect square. You factor it in factored form. You take the square root of both sides, remembering both a positive and a negative on the right, and then you just solve it for x. Get the x by itself. So let's go back over those steps one more time. Up here, we took the b term, we halved it, we squared it, and we added to both sides. Then we factored this left side into x minus 4 times x minus 4, which is a perfect square, x minus 4 squared. Then we took the square root of both sides. Once you take the square root of this side, you're just left with x minus 4. And then we account for both solutions, positive and negative, square root of 20. Then we get the x by itself by adding 4. And then we just write our answer and simplify our radical. And there are two solutions. And that's how you complete the square using our jingle. So hope this...